Meeting to order at 7:16. We have a small group of people here tonight, but we have somebody very important who we're going to introduce to the group. Is our town administrator. This is your first meeting with the new finance committee? Oh, partial new finance committee. And has everybody introduced themselves? Yes, we have, actually. Mike knows everyone, or Matt knows everyone. So Matt, why don't you let us know what's been going on? That's all right. Just forget about that. Let us know what you've been doing.
My brother Mike orders produce for Stop and Shop.
Yeah.
He can sit here and tell you what broccoli costs.
Perfect, right?
He'd be excellent at it.
Okay.
You want to skip your run on your agenda, Madam Chair?
Yeah, I'm going to skip along, and we're going to just talk about the town administrator and what he's been up to recently. And you have a report that you sent to me that I'm going to let you deliver to the group.
Yeah, well, so we'll discuss this verbally this evening, but I'll send it to you in writing as well, so we get in the habit of doing that, and then future meetings will have that to you in advance. So, so for the two new members, what I discussed with the chair of both the Finance Committee and with the Select Board is regular updates on things that are changing in the financial model for the town from last year, using last year as a baseline. Sort of give you a sense of, there's so many moving parts in a municipal budget, but every single account changes every year. Some trends are going to carry through the model all the way from top to bottom. Others are specific to major line items, both on the revenue and the expense side. So my first report is that on the revenue side, for the 5-year projection for the revenues of the town, we included for fiscal 20 the first payment due from the Cannabis Grow facility. It was not an unreasonable assumption to make at the time. It was made last year because the ownership of the facility felt that they would have their license by now. They would have already planted their first plant. It is 4 to 6 months from the time they plant their first plant to the time they dry their first product. And then we would wait 1 full year under the host community agreement, 1 full year of product being sold at a dispensary. This is the medical side of marijuana. Mm-hmm. After 1 year had passed, we would get our first installment of $150,000.
For clarification, Matt, it was after 1 year after something's been sold?
1 year, yes. So it has to be dispensed for a full year before the first payment is due to the town.
Okay, then you're
And
talking 4
technically,
to
I should
6
say
months
second.
plus 12, it's 18 months.
So
Right.
fiscal 20 seemed like a pretty strong possibility, and we were issuing building permits, we were doing tours of the building, we were really going gangbusters. All of that work has slowed down, and I no longer feel it is prudent to have that in the fiscal 20 revenue projection. At the time, for the time being, I'm moving that out to fiscal 21 for our first payment. $150,000 in our budget is a substantial sum of money. Mm-hmm. So we at least have some time to think where some of that is going to be made up.
Now, what's changed?
It is a private sector business, and they are not ready for a certificate of occupancy. So that's all we really have vision into, is when they ask us for a C of O occupancy inspection, we will know that they're close to planting their first plants.
Gotcha.
There's no indication of that. The last photos I've seen is a lot of work has been done in that building, and you'll notice a lot of supplies out behind the building that are stacked so high, you can actually see them over the roof line, but they're not installed yet. So, I mean, I'm just reading the tea leaves saying that there's just no way at this point.
Are they still moving forward from all
I get
indications?
yeah, there are still workers there, and we still have a dialogue with the ownership. It's just not moving as fast as it was. At that time, you used to see crews of people in there
Okay.
doing all kinds of everything, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and this just has stopped.
What are the 5 years of the 5-year plan?
So every year we'll roll it forward.
Oh, I see, okay.
So it's a best practice. I'll back up for a second. No, I'll actually treat with that issue a little bit later. Let me just get through the report, and I'll take the unusual step of talking into more general issues when I've done the specifics, since I started off on this path. Now, there is a $10,000 payment that is due to the town the day they plant their first seed. In the host community agreement, that is earmarked for the purchase of an ambulance. So it will not be taken out of the fiscal 19 number, because I still think there's a pretty good chance that before June 30th, they'll plant something. 10,000, I don't mind if it slips, because I think we can cover that. Now, just by way of reference, for the year we're in, which is currently fiscal 19, I think we're calling it, we have already received a very large payment from the Grove facility for the building permits. So our building permit revenues for the year we're in are going to be up substantially. Jean will deal with that when she talks about free cash. It's either tonight or some future date. But that was a substantial realization this year that came in. The other issue with respect to revenues is the final wind down of the budget process. One of the senators from the western part of the state successfully lobbied to have an amendment to the budget for 1 year to hold harmless all communities receiving payment in lieu of taxes for state forest land. So we were projected to see a reduction on the cherry sheet for our pilot of some $20,000 and change. That will not happen. We will get the exact amount we got last time we got a payment.
So it was a last minute,
It's a last minute thing, but it did go through. It was only for 1 year. And since it's topical to talk about it now, I drove out the other night to Peru.
Yeah,
You know
sure.
where Peru is?
Yeah, it's pretty up
Machu
there.
Picchu even.
No, no.
All
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
864 residents of Peru in their town hall, which is about the size of this meeting space. But it was a great meeting. There are a lot of very smart and passionate people on these boards of selectmen out in the western part of the state.
Is that
Given a lot
Franklin
of-
County?
It was, yeah, Franklin County was well represented.
Yeah, Franklin, very, very outgoing
Yeah,
and dynamic county
Yeah.
group of
And
people.
Basically, if you can afford to live out there, you've
Yeah.
accomplished something.
That's right.
Through education or
Right,
professionally.
that's right.
Because it's not much
Nothing
else
else
going
there.
on out there except farming. So Charlemont was there, and Peru itself, and a lot of those communities. They've done a lot of research. The research clearly demonstrates that Douglas is one of the top 10 communities in Massachusetts for forested land as a proportion of our overall land. And they've identified that political hook issue that you need to make progress in the legislature. And that hook issue is to compare the pilot payment made to Mount Washington to that made to the town of Lenox, which borders it. The value of forest land is largely driven by the value of the land in the town you live in. And Lennox's land is valued at a much higher value per acre compared to Mount Washington.
Yeah.
So Mount Washington gets a very small payment,
Peanuts, yeah.
and Lennox gets a very large payment for a far smaller amount of state land.
And Lennox doesn't need the money as
Lennox
much, I
doesn't
would
need the
guess,
money.
because that's pretty wealthy.
So that's the
town.
argument, and I think it's going to have legs because it's hard to ignore something that's so obviously lopsided. So the issue will be coming up with a formula going forward that will prevent this strange sort of dissolution of the annually funded or not so well funded pilot program, because as they buy more and more land in more and more places, the pie gets smaller, and then they change the way they cut the pie. And the reality is, the commitment to each municipality that has a large forest area should remain the same. We still have the same number or more people. So when you look at the one thing that's fascinating is Douglas may be top 10 in terms of percentage, but if you look at the size of the town and the services we provide, we're one of the most vulnerable,
Sure.
clearly, because we're 8,600, and most of those towns are 1,500, 1,600 people. They don't have a fire department. They don't barely have a police department.
Were you the only one there east of, Springfield?
No, there was another person there
Worcester County, somewhere.
from, was it Northfield?
Up toward Greenfield?
Just
But up Route 2?
east of Springfield, but
Yeah.
west of Worcester.
Okay.
But yeah,
Were the
I
legislative-
definitely got the prize for traveling along.
Yeah?
Were the
Yeah.
legislators there or just the town administrators?
Staff for Senator Hines was there,
Okay.
taking copious notes, because they want, their strategy is to have a legislative vehicle introduced so that they can have hearings on it, which I agree with, because that's how you get things into the budget.
Information. Yeah.
As a rider, you gotta have it all locked up with hearings and everything before you get to that.
We had talked about this last year, and same math, same numbers, all those little Western Mass
Yep.
towns, and that we were the outlier out this way. And it sounds like the only way, though, it gets heard or addressed is through the legislature, right? And that they did something out there, their either state rep or state senator filed a bill that got, through both houses
Yeah, I mean, this was,
for 1 year, for the moment, right?
yeah, a little bit unusual legislative year from my perspective. I know it's an election year,
Yeah?
but the budget, by the time it passed, looked like a Christmas tree bill. And there were some earmarks in there. I mean, Douglas benefited. We have a $100,000 earmark for an ambulance.
Okay.
So it's there. It's ours.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, that passed at the end too.
And what,
Senator
an earmark, just an earmark?
Straight out earmark.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
That's no way to run a budget, though, you know? I mean, you're talking favors. Roll it all up. Look at the need. Come on, let's
Yeah.
get down to business
Oh,
here.
that's true. We were
Ugh.
in the middle of a leadership change in the Senate. I think
Yeah.
that's how the budget got built. It got built by a consensus of flowing groups of people looking for what they wanted from the budget. So that's your revenue update. On the expense side, what will change in the model? True to form, the energy sector refuses to cooperate with forecasting methods. We experienced a good deal more stability. I read my own report because I always get these two confused. We overestimated the increase in gasoline prices and underestimated the change in diesel and number 2 heating fuel. It's a wash in the end for the year we're in. Going forward, what we use is the Energy Information Agency, which is a part of the federal government that specifically projects the price of major fuel items by region. So it's about as good as it gets. They use an econometric model, and usually they're definitely correct directionally, and then as an order of magnitude, things go up and down. Kind of depends on politics and things beyond their control. Seasonally, we know there's always an adjustment as a refinery switch over to winter blend back to summer blend. This year, for fiscal '20, we do have healthy increases projected for both gasoline and diesel prices. So we'll be trying to refine that, so you'll see a change there. Because the 5-year projection was based on the base year, it used the same fuel price for the life of the model. Now that we're going to change that price, so that change will filter its way through the model as well.
Excuse me, Matt.
Yeah.
I know that I heard just before I left that President Trump is going to be doing something with regard to ethanol I don't know, tonight actually, is talking in Iowa. I'm not happy about it, but fiscally, will that change your projections at all?
Here in the Northeast, most of our fuel is a 10% blend of ethanol already.
He's talking using it in the winter as well as summer, or summer as well as winter. So
That would
making it
eliminate that
available.
volatility.
Yeah, it's going to change something.
There goes your lawnmowers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I know. All the small engines.
One is reminded of the episode from why am I slipping them? What's the name of the show?
Seinfeld.
No, the White House.
Oh, West Wing.
West Wing, there was a episode, King Corn, and all the candidates are out in Iowa taking the pledge. The pledge, the ethanol pledge. I think that's what we're looking at right now. I don't think it's going to have too much of a change in the cost.
Okay, I just thought I'd ask that question since you're thinking about changing budget, thought process on it. Thanks.
So, other updates, we just got our preliminary view into the change in student population at BVT. Dr. Fitzpatrick informed me that we're going to be up 5, which ain't so bad.
Yeah.
Our superintendent believes we're actually going to be closer to 0, no net change. He was going to double check that. So we spent quite a bit of time today in the car. So something may have changed. It's been over a month since Dr. Fitzpatrick communicated that to me to now, so things could have changed. But it looks like we're down 2 at Norfolk Aggie, and we're certainly not any more than 5 at BBT. Now, last year, the increase was
Huge.
double digits. And we experienced almost, round up to the nearest integer, 33% increase in our assessment at BBT. This year, it's going to be much less. So there's some, through no work of ours, some stability will show up in the budget. Town administrators from 6 communities met with Dr. Fitzpatrick just about a month ago now in Upton to basically, and it was my colleague from Sutton that led the charge, saying you've got to get cost containment built into your budget, Dr. Fitzpatrick. So I think you get the message loud and clear that double-digit increases in health insurance warrant a response. He's got to figure out how he's going to structure his health insurance offering to his employees, and he can't just keep passing it through to us. If he doesn't demonstrate that discipline on his end, he can't expect to come to our town meetings and get approval.
Were you one of the 6?
Yeah.
Did you have a perception that of those 6, there would be some accountability next spring?
Well, we're not the unfortunate party this year. The unfortunate party is the town of Millbury, which is looking at 18. An increase
Yeah, sure.
of 18.
Yeah, sure.
So
Passes
for that
around.
town's budget, that's close to $350,000
Yeah.
change. That's a really big
Yeah,
change
sure.
for the town of
Yeah.
Millbury. Upton is down 11.
Yeah.
So it'll ebb and flow as the years go by. That volatility is unwelcome. May be some part of the deal, though, because it all depends on the strength of the. What I kept pressing for was earlier notice. I said, if you know exactly, I can tell you on the last day of school how many applications came out of Douglas. You have to know before September how many you've accepted. So the only number you're missing from acceptance to the October enrollment
That's who shows up.
is the matriculation. But there's probably very little wiggle room in there. Most kids who are offered a place are going to take it. So you got to give us more advance notice. You could be, instead of waiting till October, you could really be telling us in June, July. And that makes a big difference for us as town administrators trying to make a proposed budget.
But his cost control that you guys were talking about isn't affected by which towns go up and down. The towns that might care the most might be the towns that go up. but all the towns are equally all the towns are affected
Yeah.
as he keeps coming to us with 4% and 5% annual increases.
Right.
Was that the concept that there might be some accountability? Not because I netted up 5 or down 11 or up 18, but because 6 town administrators jointly said to him, we want to see, no matter how many of our kids are there, your numbers closer in line with our numbers.
Yep. There was a lot of in-depth discussion of health insurance, negotiating
It's
strategy,
policies, yeah.
plan design.
Yeah.
He still has a very generous arrangement with the employees that doesn't reflect, only Uxbridge is more generous. Most of the rest of the towns are far less generous with the award of benefits and the premium co-share and all the rest of it. He's still at a very low number for premium co-share and very low co-pays.
But did you get any sense there was traction? You know, if Douglas has been the only town in the last 3 years, 2 of the last 3 to veto his number and needs 4 more, that others were understanding that one town actually was doing it and
I think he can count, and I think he saw himself.
Did the other
Needing
5
to do
understand that they might be able to do the same thing?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. There's some discussion of that starting to percolate? Okay.
Well, just by virtue of the fact that
Our neighbors
that
to the
number.
north especially.
Yeah.
It's your colleagues on the finance committee in Sutton that are.
Okay, that
Making the
are
biggest-
starting to maybe make a second town.
Yes.
I mean, we keep being the only one, and you need that second one for people to take notice. Otherwise, you're just the crazy uncle from Douglas, kind of thing, you know.
Complainers.
Well, right, you need the second one. You need the second one, the third one, for people to get notice.
We may have voted his budget down. I think he had a more difficult meeting in Sutton.
But that's frustrating to me,
Yeah.
that he'd have a more difficult meeting, and yet they wouldn't
I think
recognize
they felt like
the vote.
they hadn't done that before. So for them, this is.
Incremental.
Here's your first pitch.
Great.
Okay, you swing and you miss, but next time you better hit it or there's going to be
And
consequences.
that's kind of my question, that, you know, while we're leading out, it'd be nice to get some company.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to hold firm on that. So we have so many conversations about health insurance. We got our renewal today, what was it, 2.4% for retirees? So a modest rate change for retirees, 2.4%. The industry sees the market at 8%. The current discussion, again, it's a follow-up to discussion that occurred last year during the override debate, was that there were certain things the administration, the Board of Selectmen would pursue. One of them was health insurance. This is more of a financial engineering discussion than it is a spending discussion. There are ways to approach the market to purchase health insurance that are structured differently than being a customer, being fully insured with a premium-based product. You can self-insure with a substantial group. You have a plan. You pay a working rate, which looks like a premium, but it's a working rate. It's a contribution to a fund, an insurance fund. And claims are paid out of that fund. The fund protects itself with stop-loss insurance from major claims. And a number of things become a lot more under the control of the people controlling the self-insured group, namely data. Even though technically the towns that are fully insured own the data, if you try to wrest claims data away from our carrier, it's nearly impossible. The first excuse you'll get was, well, we can't send you anything that's, HIPAA related. Well, we'd never even ask you for that goofball. I mean, we don't want to know that stuff. We just want to know generally what that bell curve looks like and where did all the claims fall. You completely own that data when you're self-insured. You're paying the bills, so you own that information. And there are a number of ways to manage the buckets of money for different things. So you're not just, right now, we pay a bill that's about as transparent as it gets. We pay a bill to the carrier administers the benefits. That includes the pharmacy benefit. The major pharma companies typically have substantial rebates associated with the use of certain products. in a tiered structure, you're incentivized to use lower priced products by getting a rebate. We don't know what those rebates are because we don't own the data. Our carrier it's part of their economics, is to take that rebate and use it to offset claims or to do whatever they're going to do with it. When you're a self-insured entity, you take those rebates. They're applied to your fund and the experience of your fund and the equity that's left in the fund at the end of the year. All of that is worthy of exploration. We're going to probably go to market for a 1-year renewal, or I should say a 1-year contract in the market. So it'd be Harvard Pilgrim, Tufts, Fallon, Blue Cross, to see if we can get decent rates. The difference this year compared to the past, the town now has 2 full years of claims experience. So we have what's called credibility in the insurance market. None of our exposure will be rated using the market experience. It'll be rated using our experience, which
Who's
to
the
date,
insurer of
right
the
now,
town
Harvard
right now?
Pilgrim.
Harvard Pilgrim.
Right now, our loss ratio is 75%. There is no way on God's green earth we should be looking at premium increases with a loss ratio so low. So that's the conversation. It gets a little tense, but that's what we're working on right now. So that's
Why would we only have 2 years of experience?
just we switched away from Blue Cross.
Okay.
And remember, we didn't take the data with us.
What's the timing of when insurance rates get set? Is it at any time you're in the market, or does it tend to be fall to
So
fall?
our plan year for employees is the fiscal year.
Okay.
So June 30 to July.
The
July
insurance
1.
companies approve their rates every quarter through the Division of Insurance. So it depends on when you renew your policy.
I'll let Jean speak to, if you haven't already, bond refunding.
I did last
So
meeting.
you already did.
We are going to be accepting the quotes on October 22nd. Hopefully they're favorable at 12 o'clock. And we'll be presenting to
The
the
quotes for what?
for the refunding.
Oh, okay.
And October 23rd, we'll be presenting to the Board of Selectmen.
What exactly does that mean?
It's kind of like
Refunding?
refinancing your house.
Oh, okay.
We're
okay.
looking to get a better rate for the school bond.
You think we'll get a better rate?
Yeah, we're
'cause
projecting. I know
interest
rates
seems
are
to be
starting to
going
go up.
Yeah,
But it matters what you borrowed at.
yeah, right.
That's your baseline.
Yeah,
Right.
So
But they are going up, and
Yeah.
that's why we moved the
We're
timeline
accelerating
up.
it.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
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 It was scheduled for November. We were able to we had a Moody's call last Thursday, so we were able to get things,
October 22nd, did you say?
yes.
Oh, good.
Day before our next meeting.
As well as the Board of Selectmen,
yes,
because,
they have to sign the bond the next night.
so you actually will have to check which room you'll be meeting
Right.
in, because the board,
Selectmen meet here.
yeah.
Yeah, but they meet on the alternate Tuesdays
No, they will
usually.
be meeting.
Probably thought we were having a special session. The point was that they need to do my evaluation. They wanted to do it in a single, no, it's turned into.
Single
this
item-
thing,
a single item,
A
yeah.
full agenda like any board of selectmen.
Sure.
I've added 2 items.
Thanks, Jean,
You're welcome.
for keeping everybody on topic. The only other outstanding item that's on your agenda, so I'll speak to it on the expense side at the moment, is the firefighter contract. Now, we met with them this week. We put what we felt was our best last offer on the table. From my perspective, it is a solid contract. I can only speak in generalities due to ground rules. But we, the town of Douglas, the town has not fully negotiated the language of a firefighter contract for many, many years. When the Teamsters first organized our fire department years ago, they did what was a very Teamstery contract. I've negotiated with Teamsters before, so I recognize the language and the structure of the, it was a Teamster contract. When that contract expired, we got into the habit of doing year-to-year memorandum of understanding, which generally speaking only tweaked a couple of small provisions in the contract and was mostly about COLA and pay scale. With the benefit of Labor Council, I've rewritten the whole contract to look more like a firefighter contract. We cover a lot of items that are typical in their line of work. And I would say there are features to this contract, if it's agreed to by the union, that establish a pattern that should last for as long as it needs to last. In other words, we've thought about what would the structure of the department be 20 years from now if the town of Douglas is 14,000 people, not 8,600. What would you look like, and how would you want this structured? Those things have to be dealt with now because they're very difficult to achieve later. Some of the fundamental planks of this contract, I would just emphasize. One is that the town operates on a 56-hour work week with a 28-day look back under the Fair Labor Standards Act. So we pay overtime for time worked, not for time earned. There's a difference under federal law. So if you take vacation or sick or personal time during the 28-day period of look back, you have to actually work a shift to cover every single hour you used benefit time before you're eligible for overtime. That's the single most effective way to keep overtime budgets under control. And it's already in place in the town of Douglas, and by the way, it was the union that originally asked for that to be in their contract. So that's an important piece of it, but so is rank structure, so is incentives for the things we want people to do. We want them to get training, we want them to be hired at a high level of achievement, and we want them to be physically fit. So they're provided with a number of those benefits because we want this to be a professional fire and ambulance department to the greatest extent possible, because I think, in all fairness, we don't foresee adding any more people for a very long time. And that's a very important part of where we are. I think the only other thing I feel like I should probably give you advance notice of is there were rate changes.
Here it comes, everybody. You ready?
There were rate changes last year with respect to ambulance billings. Chief Vincent made recommendations to make us more competitive with nearby towns. It would appear to have had a very positive impact. So I think we're going to be
Ahead of the
better
game.
than what we projected in the model.
Good.
By a material sum.
Mhm.
But
that's-
lower rates to get more.
Higher rates,
Higher.
Higher
But instead of
rates.
doing a menu style, it was more of a lump sum.
class.
Yeah.
Okay.
So advanced life support, basic life support.
Okay.
With transport, without transport. So there are things that,
Versus, this is what I administered this.
Versus a breakdown.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Just a whole, so they changed the cover, changed the way they're looking at it. Yeah.
now a non-operating budget thing I feel like I should keep you apprised of as well is we have done quite well in the procurement process, competitive bidding wise, and getting good prices on the equipment that was authorized by town meeting. I will give you a detailed dollar for dollar breakdown on that. We did very well on the chipper. We certainly beat the budget on everything else except police cruisers.
And that was just marginal.
It was a marginal overage, and I authorized the chief of police to use grant funds to cover what was over the appropriation, because it was only $1,000 on an $80,000 purchase. They were very specific about what they needed in their equipment. Just as a little bit of flavor, and I don't want to drag a meeting out, but it's a little fun fact.
That only finance committees
It's
will
very
appreciate.
difficult to specify, there's only so many pursuit-rated vehicles. There's the Ford Explorer, police version of that is the Interceptor. And there's the Chevy Tahoe, and then there's a couple of sedans. The Ford is the most well-known. But notwithstanding that, there's a monopoly in police cruiser world. You're smiling like you know what I'm going to say. You know what it is? There's really only one brand of strobe lights that actually work, over a long period of time. And if you think about it, it's kind of a pain in the neck. If you get water inside those lights, it will short out the wire harness or other equipment in the cruiser, and the cruiser doesn't work. Sure. So you got to make sure you buy that brand of lights. So the brand of lights has an exclusive distributorship through those firms that build police cruisers.
Yeah.
So if you specify Wayland lights, you're going to end up with MHQ because they're the only ones that the Wayland distributorship is going to allow
Wow.
to bid on the competitive bid. So we didn't sole source it. The market created that
Yeah.
strangeness, and there's nothing we can do about it. In the final analysis,
Competition is good.
our police force did a wonderful job specifying those cruisers. We took a lot of equipment out of older cruisers and transferred it over. It'll be the last year we can do it because there's
Great.
going to be a chassis change.
Yep.
So this was, in fact, the best year for us to buy cruisers.
Good.
How many cruisers?
2 interceptors, and then the market's going to change radically in the next year and a half. Ford has announced they're going to build only hybrids. You need a charging station if you're going to have hybrids.
You know, it's just
So
lucky.
there's got to be a thought process to what we buy next. But that's neither here nor there for fiscal '20, I don't think.
Yeah.
So when is the next time we're going to be buying cruisers, Matt?
I think.
What kind of a
I think this year
what
is
kind
going
of
for one.
rotation?
Yeah, we'll have something in the budget for the next couple of years.
I thought so.
Yeah.
We're going to rotate so that we're not doing it all at once.
No, it's 6 on, 6 off, right?
Interesting stuff, Matt.
Fun.
Thank you. Anybody have any
Tell you all about
questions?
chippers. Anybody have a question about chippers?
No,
Always have
no.
chippers.
Like wood chippers?
Yeah. The Fargo movie.
I was in Fargo this summer.
You were?
And I was looking for the chipper. It's a landmark up there.
Is it?
Yeah, they do. They have it up there.
Let's see. Okay, so we did that. Jean, do you have anything else to add before we go through these articles? Articles?
We did add a couple prior year bills that came to light actually today. GovConnect, that we had a change in IT, and we received a statement and we researched it, and it seemed like there was one May bill that was, didn't get submitted to my office. And we found out through some analysis with Charter Communication, there was one bill for the water, sewer, and cable that was missed too. So there were 3 new prior year bills added.
Oh, okay. I see.
Skipping Article 1, I think we went through that. My guess is I'm going to be pulling off Norfolk. I just wanted, as Matt
Okay.
indicated, our account went down, and I think that'll offset the increase in transportation. I do want to get confirmation. We played
Yep.
phone tag. She left a message, but she didn't give me the information I needed. We have to wait for the some agreement with the fire and ambulance contract to fill those numbers in. We can't estimate those until we have that. Increase in building and decrease in building wages, I'll let Matt speak to that. That was new since we met.
Where are you, on the front page?
Article 1. yes.
Article 1.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to try an experiment for about 6 months to see if it works. We will put our building inspection services out to bid. There are a number of private firms operating in the Massachusetts space that have certified Massachusetts building officials, building commissioners, on payroll. It's a fee-for-service arrangement. It may, in the final analysis, actually be more expensive. It may also be more responsive. I've got, things I don't want to belabor the meeting with. The customer service side of running this operation requires rapid turnover of requests for inspection. It also requires rapid follow-through on enforcement when and where it's necessary. And it also requires documentation and customer friendliness at a degree that we can't afford to do ourselves. or I would rather not do ourselves. So I'd rather not buy the software to allow people to apply for building permits online. If I can get a firm that will provide me with inspectors when I need them, and they're going to use the software, and they're going to license us to bridge to it. So I'm going to try it. I'm going to see where it takes us for 6 months. If it doesn't work, we'll come back to Springtown meeting and just start the department all over again. But I think this is a necessary move for the town, from my perspective, because it gives me a little bit more flexibility meeting the customer's needs, and some workflow improvements that I think we kind of need right now. We were already thinking about doing this. The building official has been asking us to do this for the 40B project, just because North Village is a substantial development. They're moving very quickly through building buildings, pouring foundations, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not something that a building official who's here twice a week can keep up with. So the original thought was get a firm to do through 53G and have the contractor pay. That's going to stay that way. But we just expanded the vision to include the whole department to see where it takes us.
Where's North Village?
North Street, just south of Pond.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Gotcha.
will Larry still be here, or is he not going to be here?
I'm still talking to him about what role he could play. I
Yeah.
certainly think he should be our backup.
Yeah,
And what is kind of open-ended is zoning.
yeah.
What exactly are we going to do with zoning? Every community's zoning bylaws are unique to that community. So you can't really just outsource that to a firm, as opposed to the building code, which is accepted by the state. It's universally the same. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with zoning yet.
So have
And when will
you,
this start?
January 1.
so you're tweaking something in here, in the building wages, or I'm
So
not
we're not
sure?
allowed to do this without approval of town meeting, and that's take money, so we currently compensate the individual as personnel. We can't take personnel funds and move them over to expenses. Professional service firm would be an expense line item.
As indicated to you by someone in this room?
Yeah, I'm not pointing anywhere.
could it be?
I'm itchy.
Oh, gee.
But that's fair, I mean, I think that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's
we had
not,
already done that with IT, by the way, years ago.
Yes, we did.
And you'll know 6 months out if it seems to
Working.
be
Yeah, if
a
it's
good
a
idea,
bust, it's a
right?
bust, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all we need to explain there, right?
Yeah.
Because you already did all
but
of
there's
that.
no amount in here is the problem.
There's not,
Yeah,
I think,
so we just,
You're still
we
figuring it
have a
out?
workload estimate, we have a rate estimate, we're gonna do some math,
Okay.
come up with a number.
Are we voting tonight on?
Well, I'm just looking at this
recommending
going, you're not going to be here in a week or 2
well, the
weeks.
board hasn't even.
They haven't closed the warrant.
closed
Oh, they
the-
haven't?
Yeah, so you
Well,
can't,
then we
this is really,
shouldn't, we can't vote on it then.
these? Perfect.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Someone's going to have to vote twice next week, or in 2 weeks, to vote for you, Howard.
You just need 5 people,
I do.
right?
I do. I do. I'm sure everyone will be paying attention. Okay, all right, well then we're not going to vote tonight on all of this. Anything else new? I see there's an added article at the end here.
When will we get these in final form?
these, they have to be in final form for the board's meeting.
October
The board
23?
has to sign them. When are they, like the 23rd?
So we're doing this the 16th.
16th.
Okay,
Oh, perfect. All
Okay.
right, so you'll,
Okay,
through the
so
Board of
you'll see it.
Selectmen on the 16th, and you'll have them for the finance meeting on October 23?
yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
This is, I
You're not here
don't know
on
what
23rd?
version you guys have.
I'm up the street, but it won't be done till about 8 o'clock
Yeah.
at their meeting. Yeah.
They received the new version today.
Is Article 8, it will be different from what you discussed previously.
Article 8.
Try.
I just want to get everything on the table so the finance committee, if they have questions,
Yeah.
they can go to that department or ask you or whatever.
So Article 8, we have a very complicated relationship with Charter Communications. And I will try to summarize it quickly. Our service agreement with them will terminate this spring. So we have to do a follow-on contract. As some of you may recall, I asked for and was given the ability to make changes in the way we do IT. We had an intermunicipal agreement with Northbridge where we shared a staffer. We went away from that, we brought in a firm. We have significant network issues that have been discovered, not the least of which is our overall architecture doesn't really work. We pull as much as 100 megabytes per second here with the Ethernet, but we only have a pipe out for 30. Whoops, and
Yeah.
I can go on and on and on about the issues we've discovered. I think the good news is this: we can dismantle what basically has been Charter's administered wide area network. Go to the internet directly from all of our sites. We'll still have a WAN. We'll still communicate to a hub here at Town Hall, but dramatically increase our connection speed and still save a lot of money. Because basically we set up a wide area network that they own and they run, and we pay them. We pay them for the administration, when we pay them to rent their equipment, and we have almost no control over our firewall and some other things. That's the way it was done in the past to save money, frankly. In the long run, it has not saved money. It's actually creating operational disturbances, and it's more expensive. The service is more expensive than the basic internet connection, Ethernet, that we need here. So to get the best available pricing, we need a 5-year contract. I'm only allowed to sign a contract for 3 years. Town meeting has to approve anything over 3 years.
Matthew, this isn't an article to approve an actual contract, it's just to approve giving you the authorization
Yeah,
to
it
enter
probably has to be
into
reworded
a
to
5-year versus 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the difference is like a couple $100, almost $300 a month. So over the life of the contract, it's $7,200.
Yep. Matthew, on 7, ratify the firefighter contract. Will that be ready?
We're asking them to be ready. I do things a little bit differently with some trepidation, okay? Because a fiscal impact statement is always going to show you that you're spending more money with the contract than you would have if you had not negotiated a contract. It doesn't tell you qualitatively what the world would be like if you didn't have a contract. So, but I think the responsible thing for any town manager or administrator to do is to say, this contract will add these costs. Anticipate these costs will go up, especially if there's a new incentive item or a COLA on a rate of pay. Those things should be disclosed to people before they vote.
When's the current contract expire?
It's already expired.
Yeah, that's kind of my
Right.
memory. We addressed this in the spring, right? Last spring.
Yeah.
So
It's
we've
been
been
under
negotiating that
negotiation.
entire time.
We
Yeah.
thought we were close in May.
Right.
And not a lot has changed since May,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Okay.
Not a lot has changed. I think when we realized, frankly, that there was no way to get this ratified into a fall town meeting, some of our energy getting
Okay.
to the table and finishing it
Okay.
dissipated. There were vacations, blah, blah, blah. But I'll be presenting you, if we get a contract done, it's fairly easy for me to do a fiscal impact statement on the contract.
Under Article 5, Matt, do we have a number on that yet?
No. And I've had some brief conversations about what that is, but I'm not entirely sure what it is.
Is that going to be kept secret?
No.
No, I missed Pat today. He
Oh,
was
okay.
in, and I just didn't catch him.
What we've discussed at great length is actually
Yeah.
this room,
Yeah.
Yes,
and
doing something
Technically-
cable-wise to this room?
technically, audio that can't be understood kind of runs afoul of the Open Meetings Act.
Yeah, I agree.
The system here was set up a long time ago with equipment that is not as current as what's available. And so there's been some discussion, what will the town pay versus what cable should pay out of their enterprise fund? The notion being that,
It's the receipts reserved for appropriation.
yeah,
No, I know, but I don't understand why the town
because not
should.
everything in this room is needed for the broadcast. There are expensive items in the sound system in this room that are not required by them, but we also need. So if you're sitting way in the back corner, you need a speaker to hear what the board is discussing
Oh, I see.
here.
I got
Those
you.
speakers have nothing to do with the broadcast. So I
agree.
basically volunteered that we'll find a way to, once we know what the number is,
Do the whole thing.
to assess whether or not we want to do the whole thing or not.
Mm-hmm.
We probably should, because if it's all done at the same time, we can make sure the contractor tests it. and it
Make
works
sure everything
properly.
matches up. Yeah.
But I don't know that they've achieved a number on that yet. What they need is a quote, because they're not gonna, this would go out for procurement. There's no way that,
Yeah.
I don't think.
I guess it's
They
probably
either need,
not
they either give us a quote for budgetary purposes, or if it's below the threshold, get us 3 quotes that we can pick one and ask
I
them
mean,
to
if the
do it.
board's going to sign this in a week, you know, the time is ripe for
Yeah.
them to do that.
Okay.
So I noticed for Articles 9 and 10, when you look at the details, it just says town will vote blank. Are those placeholders for?
Those are just placeholders at this
Okay.
time.
So when will we know about
Excuse me.
whether or not there are any plans?
We-
A week, we have a
Yeah,
week.
No, I understand.
Okay.
When do the commissioners meet?
They had to cancel their meeting last week, so that was part of the issue.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't, we don't receive the information, then the article won't stay on.
So
What are they thinking of doing? I mean,
Bob's idea, the water superintendent, was putting this on for placeholders so he can get grants. You need to have the article, you need to have these projects approved in order to apply for
Right.
grants. So that's the intent behind them.
but is there, I'm looking for grant to do a new water line or repave or,
Yeah, these
Yeah.
lines as
Yeah.
specified.
okay.
The north to Gilboa Street, you've sat in on capital improvement committee meetings, so I think you're familiar with this project, right?
No.
From-
I guess this would be 12, going to a 12-inch line,
Yeah,
based on everything else I know.
yes.
Going up North Street will be a bigger pipe, is that?
Up Gilboa,
Double.
up Gilboa.
Because that was already a huge pipe for the factory.
Not that
It
big.
narrows,
Yeah.
so it goes from 12 to 8 and back up to 12.
Oh, does it? Okay.
So, yeah, you're getting a little water hammer situation there, and it's not adequate for fire suppression and other needs.
Gotcha.
The Maine to Charles, I don't know what that is. It's the first time I've seen it. It's all very close in together there, so I'm assuming there's some piece of pipe that needs to be
Sure.
replaced to make it better.
Yeah.
I don't think it's expensive.
They try to loop things so that once you, if you mess with one, you probably have to take care of the other one, so that would be a guess.
But we will reach out to Bob again tomorrow. We did ask for
Okay.
language, I just, again, we tried to contact him today. but-
Okay, well, I'm going to move the vote to recommendations and the representatives for explanation to our next meeting on the 23rd. Does that make sense to everyone?
It does.
And we're going to, I think I'm going to go right to the reserve fund transfers. And the, actually, first I'll start we have a voucher. When we have town meetings, we send out flyers, and the post office wants payment before those flyers are delivered. It's $506, and the information is back here. Total deliveries, $32.49 to all residents. And however much per. So we don't need a vote
Okay.
at all.
What do we have, just one set?
Just one, and there's one signature on the top. The explanation is inside.
By the way, Pam, are we going to meet on the 6th of November?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't
That's
think we need.
election day,
For it to
right?
be approved, we
And,
need 5.
is it?
It is.
The 6th is a Tuesday, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we won't be meeting. And for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's election day, and we don't meet on election day. I don't think anybody can meet on election day. I think that's
Somebody asked me, and I said.
I think that's a no-no.
I don't think you can. There was something, didn't we do that one time? We took some vote file, it wasn't any good because we took it on election day. I forgot, this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
There was some,
Parking is an issue, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
one too, yeah, but.
That's the reason
Just
not
pass
to
this
meet on
around.
election day.
Got one more. And actually, that can go right to Jean, I
Is
think.
that the only one we've got tonight?
No, now we've got a reserve fund transfer.
Did we take a vote, I thought we took a vote to allow you to sign the expenditure. It's fine that you all signed.
I think we did.
For the committee.
Yeah, but somebody could come in and sign. The-
Yes.
The chairman could come in and sign.
We did, I thought we did because Ryan was our person. I almost thought it was at the June 12th meeting, but I didn't see it here. So if not, we'll have to make sure it's on the next agenda.
Okay.
Um,
For what?
It allows you to designate one person to sign off on the expenditures as well
Oh,
as
okay,
payroll.
yep.
As long as in the following meeting, you inform the committee of what was approved. It does not excuse or, remove your responsibility, it just allows one person to sign. So
Can
we
we
don't
do
have
that
to
right-
wait for those meetings.
Can we do that right now?
It's not on.
It's not on the agenda.
No.
I thought we had done it, but maybe.
Ex parte?
No, I don't remember doing it.
Okay, the reserve fund transfer
I guess not.
Doing it. I
has to
think it
do
was-
with landfill maintenance.
There's Robert's rules that get you every time.
What do you want? What do you want to do, Howard?
Go ahead.
The reserve fund transfer is $425. It's for landfill maintenance, third-party landfill inspection. While making arrangements for the transfer station's third-party inspection, it was brought to my attention, this is from Jean, I guess, that from the state, that the landfill was also in need of inspection as soon as possible, a state inspection, I gather. So I guess there's no money in the appropriation.
Landfill is very tight. We only had that's the one I explained. We actually have it on the Article 1. We only had the mowings budgeted.
Okay, so
this-
there's no placeholder for this type of thing
Correct.
to go on.
And we can't wait till the fall town meeting,
Right.
unfortunately.
So I'll let you make a motion, Howard, and teach everybody how to do it. If you would.
Sure, so motion to approve the request for the reserve fund transfer for monies for the landfill,
I'll second it.
In the amount of,
$425.
okay. Okay, motion's on the floor to
Approve
make a
it,
reserve fund. What?
to approve it, to approve the transfer.
Motion's on the floor to approve the transfer to the reserve fund and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, unanimous. Okay, so we just, if the members could sign or put initials along the edge here.
Okay.
All right, on this, and there's 3 copies.
Okay.
You can put your full name too if you want.
Yeah, right, whatever, however you want to do
Be
it.
as creative as you want to be.
And while we're passing that around, I do want to tell you that I ran into, just tonight, I was looking at the Beacon, I made a phone call to an unresponsive ATFC group a couple weeks ago about the Association of Town Finance Committee meetings. And I just see it tonight. It's going to be held Saturday, November 3rd at the Devon's Common Center. They're going to have 6 workshops. I'll just read it to you really quick. 6 workshops will cover a range of topics, including Budgeting 101, social media, how to organize and run a citizens academy, behind the scenes of collective bargaining, drafting and implementing strong financial policies, and how to build an effective finance committee. Housing and Economic Development Secretary Jay Ash will open the meeting and discuss affordable housing, age-friendly policies, and smart growth. The conference will begin with the association's business meeting at 9 and run through 2:30. The cost of the meeting is $45 for any new finance committee member, those who have served in the position for less than 1 year. Cost is $55 for veteran finance committee members from ATFC dues-paying communities and $65 for non-members. All local officials are invited to attend. You haven't been, Matt. This might be a good one for you to go to.
When is
It's on a
that?
Saturday.
Going to Peru wasn't enough for you. We're gonna go to Devon's.
No, really, you might find it interesting because it's all about finance committees and it's networking kind of stuff. The managers go there too, by the way. It's November 3rd at the Devon Center,
9 to 2:30?
9 to 2:30. And what I would say to you is that because the town will pay, if you can make up your mind whether you're going to go by the 23rd of October, and let us know, Jean, let
We can
Jean
prepare a
know.
voucher and pay,
We can-
which I am not losing it. The Finance Committee did make a motion
Oh.
to appoint Pamela Holmes and Kara Gogolinsky
That's
as
how much I know.
I love that
Finance
motion.
Committee signees for expense and payroll warrants. And this was at your June 12th meeting.
Perfect.
I'm so glad you came up with that piece of information.
How often are there workshops for FinCom people?
Actually, this is only a yearly one.
Okay.
The DOR, the Divisional Local Services of the DOR, have what
They have a.
They have
for
something in
new,
May. For new
officials.
financial,
Right,
new
back in May,
new
right? That was at the
officials,
Hogan
new
Center
officials
a couple years
finance
ago.
forum. It's called, and that's pretty good.
So May would be.
May,
Okay.
yeah. So. Okay.
Can you give me some more information on that? That Devon's thing?
It doesn't say what building or anything, so you're going to have to.
Well, Devon Center
Can-
is like a little.
It's
that's
called the
where-
Devon Center?
Yeah.
Devon
Fort
Center.
Devens, right? It's the
Well, it's
old
down the
Fort
street from
Devens.
Fort Devon's, and
Yeah.
I have a story to go with that one, so.
Great.
Oh, good.
You ended up in prison there, former speaker of the Royal House.
Gene, can you scan and send us that?
Sure.
How's that?
Can you do that?
Give me your cell phone with your
Great.
scanner on it, you just take a picture and you
That's
got it.
way too much for me.
Howard's pay grade.
That works really well.
What's your Fort
actually.
Devon story?
I do that all the time.
For another time.
Oh,
Why
Not
is
on
that?
camera.
Oh,
Yes,
are you gonna
exactly,
send, do you have Mike?
exactly.
Let's
I'll
see.
send it to Pam and she can forward it to
Okay.
the committee.
Now, would that go through our email?
Yeah.
Okay,
Does that work?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, because I have 2 phones. I have one that I talk on, I have one that I take all the other stuff on.
Okay.
Well, the one that I talk on, I keep in my pocket all the time. Because it's
That's good.
little.
Yeah, I know. I
Those
missed
big
mine.
Those big phones, you're always looking for it. Where'd you put it? You can't keep it in your pocket's too big.
Carol, if I can make that schedule work for me, I might go to that.
Yeah.
It sounds like you might have some
I might.
interest, so we could maybe,
Depends
Yeah.
upon my appointment
Carpool up or
schedule
something.
because my
Probably
life
see if my
changes
son
on
wants to go
Monday.
too, because he's on the finance committee in Northbridge.
I mean, we've got 2 other new members. Or, well, we got Dick. We've
They're
got
just-
Heather.
they're
We've got
good to
Lee
go to.
that aren't here.
I think it would be a good learning.
right?
It is. It's good networking, and it's really surprising. I remember I went once, and I
Okay.
think it was Nantucket. I mean, the people didn't know how to make up a finance committee.
When's the next one on Nantucket? We
Yeah,
can-
I know.
That's where we
I
wanna go.
know. So I'm going to move a little bit further down to the message for the special. I was thinking of talking a little bit about the budget, the 2020 budget, that we're starting it early, that, we can anticipate some changes. Also, the override, that was hugely contentious, and I'd like to just remind people the Finance Committee's here to try and hold the line on spending for them, so that, just to make them a little bit more comfortable. And then just to introduce new members, and also maybe to thank some of our old members that aren't here by name.
Okay.
Anybody have any other ideas that I could put in the message?
We still have an opening?
We still have one opening.
Maybe
There's 8 of us now.
Put that on the message.
Yeah, right. Okay, we were going to talk a little bit about the towns and town government, Chapter 1 of the handbook. Did anybody have you all had a chance to read it? Because I'm not going to go through it all if you have.
Is this the one from 2 weeks ago?
No, this is towns and town government, and it talks about the different structures of towns, organization and authority of towns. Towns actually have pretty much their own authority if they're under home rule, I think. Other than that, the state really tells us how to operate. Most towns are run by town meeting these days, as opposed to some other states are not run by town meeting. And some towns have representative town meeting members, so that all of the residents don't go, just people that are elected to go to town meeting. Luckily, we have just an open town meeting. Also that we have, it talks a little bit about how different towns are structured. We have a town administrator and a finance director at the moment, and I think we did that through,
Special act.
I'm sorry?
We did it through the special act.
Through the special act, right. And so we have Matt and Jean. Then it talks about the legislative authority of the town, which rests with town meeting. And town meeting votes on anything that the town does and decides whether or not they should do it. Talks about raising and appropriating funds, enacting bylaws, and accepting state statutes. There are 3 different kinds of bylaws: administrative, which are general bylaws, and zoning bylaws, which regulate the use of land, and then personnel bylaws. Not sure whether we have too many of those.
We do.
And it talks about elected and appointed officials. The town chose a while ago to decide that the treasurer and collector be a combined position, and that it would be an appointed position rather than elected. It was elected before that. We also had I'm just going to interject something that I can't recall. There was a group that looked at the government, I want to say,
Government Study Committee.
Government Study Committee, a while ago. They did a lot of work.
It was when I first was hired.
Yeah, and they had some recommendations, and I think it just kind of went away.
No, actually, they recommended.
Yeah, right.
The finance
Recommended the act.
director, yeah.
Right, yeah,
Sorry?
no, I think,
The special act was the result
yeah,
of that.
that was the
committee's
result of
work.
that.
Right, but I think there were other recommendations. I can't even recall. No?
I said I don't know.
Okay, I think there were other ones. I mean, when the town grows and you see growing pains and you wonder, how it's working, you kind of wonder whether or not you should continue looking at things, in the town. Board of Selectmen, some communities have 5. Douglas had 3 up until 15 years ago, I bet. Back in the mid-'90s, when the town had bad budgetary problems, Board of Selectmen was making more money than they are now. The budget was, I think, $1,500 per board member, and it was reduced back then. It's never gone back up. Just don't have the cash. The town clerk, of course, keeps track of all the business of collecting fees and licensing in the town. And then the school committee is responsible for the administration and budget of the town's education system. Under Ed Reform Act, the superintendent is the governing person at the school. The school committee is actually her hiring or their hiring agent, and most of the authority goes to the school superintendent now. Then we talk about other functions. There's an assessor, there's a board of assessors, they're elected. The tax collector, the accounting, town accountant, and who's our combination finance director. And the Board of Health takes care of health activities, road maintenance, public shade trees, preservation and peace and public safety. And then you have the Community Development Group, which is zoning, ZBA, Planning Board, Conservation, and the Finance Committee. And I copied our own bylaw. They might have already seen this. Douglas's bylaw reads, "There shall be a town finance committee composed of 9 members, who shall be appointed by the town moderator. 3 members shall be appointed subsequent to each annual town meeting to serve for a term of 3 years. Vacancies shall be filled by appointments by the moderator for the unexpired term. The committee shall elect from its members, among its members, chairman, vice chairman, and secretary." We haven't done a secretary. "Subsequent to the first annual town meeting held after this bylaw becomes effective," well, that was in 1993. The town moderator shall appoint, in addition, additional members so that each member's terms expire each year. All articles in the town meeting warrant purporting to require an appropriation shall be referred to the town finance committee, which committee shall report its recommendations to the town meeting. For the annual town meeting, these recommendations shall be available in print at the office of the town clerk at least 7 days prior to said meeting. It shall be the duty of the Finance Committee from time to time during the fiscal year to inquire into the expenditures and commitments of each town department, and it shall have access to all records of each town department, officer, board, or committee. The Finance Committee shall meet with representatives of the various town departments, officers, boards, and committees at least 1 month prior to the annual town meeting to discuss the budgetary requirements for the ensuing fiscal year of such departments, officers, boards, and committees. Each such department, officer, board, and committee shall, 90 days prior to the next annual town meeting, furnish to the Finance Committee and to the town accountant an itemized estimate of the amounts necessary for the administration of its or his department during the ensuing fiscal year.
You know, I just heard something that you said. It said that we're supposed to have our recommendation in the town hall at least how many days?
7.
7 days. Well, what happens, how about the few times when we had the meeting the night of the town meeting before we decided what we were recommending on something?
Well, I don't think that's a problem, Carol. I mean, usually I will tell you the budget is done,
Right.
the whole budget. There's
just
not a
saying.
hold on that, but some articles, you're right.
Yeah, just saying it. That doesn't sound like, it almost sounds like we're supposed to have our recommendations
Yeah, let me just reread,
7 days before, doesn't
and
it?
then I can check with Chris to see
It sounds like to you.
how she reads it. I don't think there hasn't been a problem that I know of in the past. What do you think, Matt?
I wouldn't know, I haven't been here a year and a half, but I would say that all the flyers I've looked at, the flyers are sent out
Yeah.
with FinCom's recommendations well in advance of 7 days. We
So-
wouldn't be able to mail it.
Sometimes we do put, Finance Committee will make recommendation at town meeting. And that's what I think
At
what
the
Carol's
meeting prior
speaking to.
to the town meeting.
Because
yeah.
we've done that. We didn't see we had enough information, and we've actually had a meeting like half an hour before the town meeting starts and discuss it and make a recommendation for the floor. I just didn't know if what we're doing is legal.
But your budget is always.
Yeah, yeah.
So what
Okay.
does the language refer to the budget, or does it refer to
Well,
all
it's-
articles on the warrant?
All right, all articles on town meeting requiring, warrant requiring to or purporting to require an appropriation
Yeah.
for the annual town meeting. These recommendations shall be available in print at the offices at least 7 days.
Oh, it doesn't say the
that's-
recommendations,
that's
just,
done.
yeah, it doesn't say we have to make the recommendations. It just said that they have to be there in print.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I think we're all right then.
I mean, I'm from Westport, I don't even know when town meeting is, they don't tell us. We don't get a flyer.
You don't have, but you,
We
don't you
get
have?
squat.
Oh,
We didn't even paper what they did, all 10 of them, whoever showed up. Except for last year, but
well,
Are you in Rhode Island?
you may run into some finance committees from that community.
maybe at Devon's you guys.
At Devon's,
sit
yes.
The Westport crowd, so what are you guys
Yes.
doing? Send
Yeah,
out a
they come
flyer,
from,
will
it's,
ya?
it's
We can
the,
do that, right?
it's a
We can do
state
that.
meeting, so. Okay, what else have we got? Hopefully not.
We are on approval of minutes, I think.
Oh, good, yay.
Right?
Yay, team. Good, Howard, thank you.
Right?
Yes, we are.
6:12. I make a
do it.
motion to approve the minutes from 6:12:18.
That's what you're authorized to send.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Right? And there was discussion about a tree out front. It's all in here.
Oh, yeah, the tree that died.
You can't make that motion, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Why not?
Yes, they can.
Why not?
He wasn't here.
Doesn't matter. It is okay.
Ms. Holmes said I not only can make the motion,
I sent it out.
vote on the
Yeah.
article, on the
Yeah,
minutes themselves.
minutes, evidently, you can vote if you're not there.
Imagine that.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, well, that's what I was told a long time ago, and nobody's told me different since, except for Matt, who's looking at me with a hairy eyeball.
2.
So I have a motion on the floor.
I don't want to interrupt the efficiency of the finance committee.
Too late.
Only Carol and Pam were in attendance that evening.
Go, Carol.
Okay, you want me to do?
I need a second.
Oh, I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Carol, you all right?
Oh,
with
yeah,
aye?
I'm all
You're
right.
aye.
Yep.
Okay.
I wasn't here.
Oh,
You abstain?
we're going to make you a member
He doesn't-
in absentia
No, but he
from,
doesn't, he can abstain. So you
yes,
abstain?
he
I
did.
abstained, yeah.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of Tuesday, September 25th, 2018. Carol?
I don't even know where they
Lynn
are.
seconds it.
Where are they?
Next page.
Last page.
The last page.
The last page?
I second it.
Okay, so Howard and Lynn,
Oh, I don't have.
And I was here for that one, too.
you were,
Yeah.
okay. Is there any more discussion about the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'm going to abstain because I
Abstain.
can't find the minutes.
Carol?
Not here.
Okay. Was I even there?
You weren't
Okay,
here.
Carol,
I wasn't
you
here. I'm
abstained.
going to abstain because I wasn't here. All right.
Lynn? You in?
Oh, yeah, I said aye.
It was a riveting meeting. I spoke a lot.
Oh, I wish I was here then.
Exciting.
Can I have a copy of them? See how I didn't get them?
Oh,
But then I didn't hear. And I know what I missed.
Okay, good. Then I think,
Yeah.
yeah, old business, new business.
Old business.
Yes.
Mike Hutnack. We had talked about whether Mike would be available on Tuesdays. Have we heard back from Mike?
I have. I heard from him, I think the day of the meeting after I saw my email, and he said, yes, indeed, that
Okay.
it generally would not be a problem.
Okay, great.
Just on occasion, it
Okay.
happens.
Okay.
I guess the problem happens when it happens 2 weeks in a row and he's not, so.
What is our expectation for the October 23rd meeting, 2 weeks from tonight, for availability?
Well, I will tell you right now that I am having a recollection that Heather told me in a mail that she was not going to be around tonight and on the 23rd.
Okay?
You have told me that you're not going to be around on the 23rd.
I literally am up the street, but it's a commitment I've got to make. I
Sure.
would be available at 8.
Okay.
So so that we could start
So
later
we
if
do
we need
need,
a quorum.
we do need attendance because we still have to vote the
That's an important
recommendations
meeting.
for town meeting. So it's a crucial meeting.
Pam, are you available that night?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
that's
can't meet,
3.
I don't meet meetings. I don't miss meetings generally.
Sure, neither do I.
I know. you
Unless I
know.
have to.
I know.
Yeah. So that's 3.
We hear you. The 13th, I have a work commitment.
Well,
That's
we
that
won't,
special
I'm not gonna, no, we're not gonna do anything on the 13th.
Well,
Oh, you
meeting
mean
is the
town
13th,
meeting?
Yeah.
Right,
Oh, that-
right. We are
well,
doing something.
yeah.
on the 13th.
We'll tape it for you.
Is the
Good.
town meeting on the 13th?
November
Oh,
13th, yes.
okay.
Hold on, let's go back to October 23 and see if we can
Yep.
get close to a quorum.
You gonna be around on the
Yeah, I'll be
23rd?
there.
That's 4.
And we have, well, we've got 2, Lee and
How long of a meeting
Mike.
will it be? Could we move it to 8 o'clock?
We can if we move it along, can't we?
I mean, we could,
Well, if we just have a single, well, you know, if we have a
what's on the
small
agenda?
agenda, well, we could do everything other than
The voting
other than the vote.
articles.
That's what's going?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of a big one,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's- Well, no, you've
Oh,
seen
no,
them
that's
many
not gonna
times
be-
by
So
now.
my commitment is for National Honor Society at the high school.
Nice.
I think it starts at 6:30,
Nice.
but I think it's not done till about 7:40, 7:45, 7:50. So I can get down
Bringing
here.
us cake after?
Yes, so absolutely. I'll bring a couple of the torches that they use.
Pizza on Monday.
We'll turn off all the lights and have a vote.
Don't ask.
I prefer the cake.
Is there a secret handshake?
You know, we've talked about that. Everybody, your name is Pinto.
Okay, I think we'll start the meeting at the same time.
Okay.
And
You'll get it.
hopefully that we'll have a quorum and,
I'll come over when I'm done, either way, yeah.
or text me or something, or I can get a hold of you.
Well,
When you're
either
done.
way. I'll
See if you
come
need it.
over.
Okay.
No, even
Stop
if
by on
well,
your way.
I'm not needed if you have 5.
You're
you don't
heading in
need
that
me.
direction
You don't need me
anyways.
for the 6th
Good.
one.
Good, because I'll put off the votes if I
Okay.
have a problem.
I'll be here by 8.
Good.
Who are the other 2 people? Mike
Mike.
and who's the other?
Heather, Lee LaHouse. LaHouse.
All right. So
Okay.
we've got 4 and a 5th by 8 o'clock. Yeah.
All right, that works. Any old or new business? We talked about new business, which is our next meeting. Next meeting is the 23rd. No? Okay,
Madam
I'll
Chair,
entertain a
if I might-
motion to adjourn.
Hold on, before you get there.
But, go.
I just wanted to, you and I have had this conversation. As a formal part of the selectmen's evaluation of me, there's a goal-setting process. And one of the goals I've identified that I'd like to try to meet is in 2 years' time. So giving myself 2 years to do it. To build a budget presentation that's compliant with best practices according to the Government Finance Officers Association. It's a complex undertaking. There are many minimum threshold requirements. But we have a 5-year budget forecast in place. That was one piece of it. A 5 or 6 year capital improvement plan is a necessary component as well. The town has always done a projection of projects that have been identified. That's not a capital improvement plan. Capital improvement plan should be a situation assessment, a detail of all the projects that are necessary to address the situation, rank order prioritization of those projects, and then identification of source of funds for the entire capital improvement plan period. That's a goal for this year, to at least, and you know by year 6, you're gonna change those things when you get to year 6, but the thought is you should be able to demonstrate that you have a plan and that plan is smoothed out for stabilization of municipal finance for the entire period, not be caught unawares of major capital problems. But there are 14 minimum criteria for GFOA. And my thought is in the first year that we try this is a lot of work for me and Jean.
Okay.
But to get those 14 minimum criteria, at least a college try,
Okay.
submit it to the GFOA for feedback, and then hopefully have a product that is approvable to achieve that designation in year 2.
Okay.
That would make us one of only 30 communities
Okay.
in the Commonwealth that achieve that level. Why would you do that?
That's what I want to know.
Transparency. So really, some of the questions even that Dick asked before the meeting started tonight. How many people work here? How many departments are there? All the things that I kind of know, but I don't count them in my head. They should be in a document somewhere, so somebody who
Okay.
really has no familiarity at all with municipal finance or the history of the town of Douglas should be able to pick up the budget message and, not within 100 pages, within 5 or 6 pages, get a pretty good idea of what's going on.
All
And then
right.
if they have questions, there's documents, spreadsheets,
Okay.
things that explain it. Transparency is the single biggest thing that GFOA is pushing us all towards doing. Disclosing things that are anticipated or reasonably foreseeable in the future is a necessary component of good budgeting. Because time and time and time again, and I can give you examples from my personal experience, when you budget for 1 year, you just think about 1 year, and then you think about the next year, and then you think about the next year, you end up being very penny wise and totally pound foolish. And then you end up with, oh my God, we have a huge deficit in year 8. How did that happen? Well, it's because you didn't take care of your buildings, you didn't care, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus from neighboring communities, but that's what happens. Oh, really, that school is, the roof leaks and we can't close the doors, and we'll just abandon the bond and it'll cost us $400,000. That kind of thing really should never happen. You should be able to pick up that report, see when all the bonds will be defeased, when everything's rolling off, how it affects the tax rate, and all the things that the public would want to ask. And that's what gets published well in advance of town meeting for people to review and to understand. It becomes the baby of the finance committee because that's your role. So it's done, it's on my goals for the Board of Selectmen to evaluate my performance, but in reality, I'm doing it for this committee and its role in town meeting. So I just, if you like that idea, I would appreciate yours. I know it's a lot of work for me, but I actually want it to be part of the goals. So if you see a member of the board.
Matthew, what do
reinforce
you
it.
need from us to say to you that we do like the idea?
Just informal interactions with any member of the board that you see, or test the idea with members of the public that you know have a lot of opinions about the budget and see what they think.
I mean, if I may, being candid,
Yeah.
as you've said it, it strikes me as more work for the two of you, but I'm not hearing any request for more money for it, more remuneration. You just want to know from us if we're okay with you guys doing more work for the same salary? Because I'm okay with that.
This is the finance committee,
On
Matt.
one level,
Because it's an
but not
allocation.
so much okay on a different level.
Because it's an allocation of our time.
Right,
It would be
that's right.
good to know
Got
that
it.
we have your support to use our time in that fashion.
Is
for
it
these
something
two.
both of you recommend?
She doesn't have a choice.
Not my question. That wasn't my question. That's
Even though
not-
she'd have to,
That's,
lose a couple of members of the board to lose her job.
Jean, is that also something you recommend?
I think it's good practice. I'm actually, Matt did come to me, this isn't a surprise.
Yeah,
He
sure.
punched you?
No,
A little
but-
while ago.
But you both believe that the extra time, because what you've described is something, conceptually, I love the idea.
I'll let you know after it's done.
What are we doing for, how long will it take to have the first, if you will, one of these completed?
A year.
Again, you
Yeah,
don't,
probably by this cycle, but I think on our end, it disciplines how we present
Yeah, sure,
material.
yeah.
So we have these numbers already
Mhm.
in one form or another. The question is, are they user-friendly? Do they provide information in a crisp way? So it might just be a matter of how do I present the same
Sure,
concepts?
I agree.
Which is just an improvement over an existing process.
Sure.
That we should be willing to do that no matter what. I don't think we're going to create, with the exception of, the one thing I find is actually really daunting is the GFOA insists that we actually document every single FTE it takes
What's an
to
FTE?
actually run this government. Full-time equivalent.
Okay.
Full-time, what?
Equivalent. It's how the school looks at personnel as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
so one teacher versus a half
Fair enough.
part-time teacher,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay.
But when you start to extend this out, so think about how, and this is what I think is kind of cool, because it proves what a strong concept democracy is in local government.
Mhm.
We really, it takes a lot of people to run the
Yeah.
town of Douglas. If you add up all the call volunteer,
Sure.
firefighters, all the volunteer, the CERT team, all the volunteers at the Council of Aging, all of you as members of boards and commissions that are volunteers, as well as our paid staff, there's a lot of people. So it's going to take some doing to kind of like catalog all of that stuff and make it understandable, and then to go back to the people and say, guess what, almost all of these people are volunteers.
Well, will this create theoretically a physical new report, a new way of looking at least
So your budget book,
long-term
yeah, instead
budget
of being
strategy?
a binder with munis sheets put into
Yeah,
it, which
sure.
can be helpful,
Yeah,
this is an actual bound volume. I can get you an example. Northborough is a certified town, Barnstable,
okay.
and you end up with a bound volume that's about as thick as your budget binder would normally be.
Mhm.
A lot of the same information in it, but now it's like, one of the 14 minimum requirements is a table of contents.
But
Just
you,
being able to tell people where stuff is.
but you believe theoretically a year from now, you guys can walk us through what we're looking at and how it's going to be more helpful projecting.
Yeah, I'd like
In
to
other words-
submit this year and then have 2020 be the year that we get it.
Submit this year, what do you mean?
This budget
But this-
presentation this year should start to be put into the format required by GFO.
Fair enough, yeah. For a final doc, like you said, about a year from now.
Yeah, I mean, we would submit it this year to get feedback, but the
Yeah.
final, the attempt at getting certified would be next year.
Okay.
Certified by whom?
So,
GFOA.
yeah, so that's a professional organization,
Okay.
Government Finance Officers Association. You're a member, right?
I'm not.
You're not, but is Cheryl?
No.
No, but you go to
Courtney is.
meetings, Courtney is.
Yes, Courtney is.
And so there's a panel of analysts all across the country that get your submission. And they grade it to make sure you meet all the minimum requirements. And you have to have them all. And there has to be a consensus of the vast majority of the committee that does the review. But they give you very, very detailed feedback on how to improve the presentation. It's free service. So it's helpful on that level.
Would something like that help us be in a better position to get some grants?
Yes.
It would make
I'll
the
tell you where it
numbers more
helps the
visible.
most.
Yeah,
When the kind of phone call we had the other day with Moody's,
okay.
where they'll say, how are you guys, what kind of reports do you generate? We get graded on a whole bunch of things that a lot of times the public doesn't appreciate or understand. Governance model is one of them, and if you have the GFOA certification is the highest thing, is the best thing you can do in terms of budget presentation. There's no better award that you can get. A Moody's analyst can say, wow, you guys really
Put an effort.
has it, and go to your website and look at it and say, yep, that's my question, that's the question I had, and that's what gives investors confidence when they buy your bonds.
What's our current grading?
AA3.
Double A.
Yeah. And we will get a rating at the end of this week. They don't think it's going to change, though.
No, I think our score went up, but I don't think it was enough to change the rating.
Okay.
Yeah.
About
We've
15.
done well the last couple of years.
Okay.
Our free cash has been higher, our undesignated fund balance has been steady. We
Stabilization.
put money back into stabilization after we took money out. We're funding OPEB to some extent.
When will we get a presentation on where to expect the override money to show up in the next budget?
Are we even gonna do it that way? It's in the general fund after the year one.
Yeah, it's now part of general fund revenue.
Was that my presentation?
That's it.
About 15 years ago,
I'm gonna have to work on that. All right.
the
Except there'll be
town,
more story, like, we're kind of, because we're at the beginning of the period that remember, we were trying to solve for zero in some future year,
Mhm.
keeping the use of free cash at zero.
Yeah.
So it kind of builds in the notion that we'll be substantial free cash for the first 2-3 years of the override period, that's where it comes back to an accountability discussion. How would you use those funds? Would you
When
use
does
capital?
in terms of what we started the meeting tonight, revenue, new revenue, when does that new revenue actually hit our fiscal budget?
It did, FY '19.
FY '19?
Yes.
Okay,
So that was part of our
100%?
budget. 100%.
okay, okay. good.
What you saw is a menu type article
Okay.
in the first year, which is FY '19. After that, I wasn't being crushed. It is part of miscellaneous, it's part of.
You'll
fund
start to
revenue.
see it
Yeah.
flush out and break out into budget segments.
And when will the taxpayers see it on the tax bill?
When
At the
set
ne-
the tax
Yeah.
rate.
In January?
Yeah,
That's when
before December
the gnashing
31st.
of teeth.
But, you
Your value
you
went up
say
as a
that.
town though, too.
We, like the finance committee, we do our best to watch
Yeah.
the dollars here.
I know
And,
you do.
refunding the debt
I
and,
know you do.
doing those things to
Yeah.
help us manage
And
our money.
that shifts everything.
Some of the stuff, yeah,
So refunding the debt alone, remember, that's excluded debt.
it is.
So it'll go right back to the tax rate. The savings from the refunding is only an estimate. You have to sell a bond to know what it will be, but is estimated for about $700,000 of present value.
Over life.
So, and it vary by year. It's not bad.
Yeah.
So,
So about the GFOA thing, about 15 years ago, the town asked the DOR, Division of Local Services, when they had people working for them, really, I mean, that
Yeah.
the department's like been decimated, to come to Douglas and look at our finance department and finances and how we were doing things. So the fellow came out from the Division of Local Services and he talked to everyone, the accountant at the time and the treasurer, collector, finance committee chairman, which was me. And he chastised me for the lack of information that was going out to the residents of the town. He thought it should be much more sophisticated. And I listened to him and, and thought, you're nuts. And while I really appreciate the fact that it would have been great, when you're working with skeleton crew and it just wasn't going to happen with just a volunteer finance committee.
It's not gonna happen.
Just not possible to do. So I'm sure that he got his requirements or, what he would like to see from the GFOA.
yep.
Because he was looking for some, pie charts or whatever, just to show people where the money and how much and the different allocations. And I'm sure that essentially what it is looking at the budget in many different ways. So, interesting.
One more piece of business. Has the Finance Committee been approached by Board of Selectmen at all about input with regard to our town administrator's upcoming review?
Got it.
No?
Because it would be my perception that, at least me on the Finance Committee, that our town administrator has done a fantastic job. I really welcome his input at each meeting. I welcome his depth of knowledge. I really enjoy the passion I feel that we get for the town itself and for doing for the betterment of the town. I really like all of that. And I think, at least from this segment of the Finance Committee, I'd like that public record with regard to maybe as the review's coming up. I do. I appreciate everything you
your
do.
kind
You've done a great job, in my opinion.
I'd be glad to put something in writing
I just
from
did.
okay. Well, then,
Oh, if there's a perception something should be in writing, I don't know that I'm hearing that that's needed,
No.
right?
But
Yeah, okay.
You could make a motion, though, that Howard write a letter.
So
Anybody want to second that?
you don't feel you don't, right?
I mean, in a way, I'm kind of like, this is your
Yeah,
gig,
sure,
right?
yeah,
I mean, you
sure,
should speak
yeah.
through your chair.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
affects me, so I shouldn't say anything.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you
right,
go.
yeah.
Except thank you for your
Right.
kind words, which I
Yeah,
did say.
yeah.
if you don't think of, I mean, I'm leave it to the committee. I'll do a letter, or have somebody do a letter, or whatever, and
Well, that's what I would like to see him write the letter, because you know what, it's not really not you don't think you're there sitting at home watching our meeting, do you? The
I
selectmen.
hope so.
You hope so.
I
but
know
you
Ryan
it's not
Hogan does
happening.
on the way to work.
Yeah, Ryan, but he's not a selectman.
He's not.
Carol, I think for me, it's more a function of, it's hard for me to gauge whether, if the Board of Selectmen hasn't reached out
Right.
for that input,
Right.
I'm not sure whether they're feeling the need for that input. And there are
They haven't
times in
thought
my,
about it.
there are
We're
times,
still working on the process,
Yeah,
Mr. Vice Chairman. We talked about the instrument that was used. I wanted to update the instrument. It'd be different than the one that was from Mike. I thought Mike's was redundant and vague. And I want more objective measures. So I think that they're just starting to really actually visualize the whole process. So it's a change all around. 'Cause I'm not so sure they ever asked you about my predecessor either.
no, I understand that. I mean more, my experience in the last few years has been, I think it would be fair to say that at times when we've looked to have a joint meeting of the multiple committees, I'm not sure that Board of Selectmen always didn't want to just keep going forward on their perceptions of their agenda. So I'm comfortable that I've made my statement on the record, and
I would concur with your statements.
yeah, I don't know that a letter from the Board of Finance, when we haven't been asked, is something they would necessarily at the moment welcome. They've got their own input and opinions, and we've gone on record and given our opinions.
Let me just give a thought that if the board is not sure, or if they're trying to formulate a process, I'm thinking that if we're doing this, not sure whether anybody's going to see it or not, surely Matt's not going to tell them to watch it,
Right.
that if a committee that has much interaction with the administrator, probably as much as the Board of Selectmen, almost, has a certain feeling that to come forward with a letter of recommendation saying, we think he's doing a good job for us, because of X, Y, and Z, that it may help them even formulate their process going, okay, we want to hear from next year 2 boards or just 1, or maybe random boards that he's been to visit with, or I don't know. So it's up to the committee.
Well, I say send a letter. I don't know if anybody else agrees with me here.
We can do this by consensus or make a motion.
She did make a
I
motion.
did make a motion.
Do we have a second? Nope,
Okay.
no second?
Can we do it by consensus?
Given,
No, I
that Carol,
understand.
I'll second the motion.
There we go. Now we got the second. There you go.
Second the motion to.
You can second the motion. I made it. He can second it.
I mean, it's-
I don't know what letterhead I'd use. I don't know that there's a Finance Committee letterhead.
we'll formulate one.
All right, I'll write a brief note that somehow I will get to
Suzanne,
Suzanne,
she can put her letterhead.
all right, in the next several days.
Thanks.
Brief, to the point.
Thank you.
I
So
bill
all
by
those
the
in
hour.
favor of having Howard send a note to Suzanne regarding our interactions with Mr. Wojcik?
Town administrator.
Yep.
Say aye to that.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, done deal.
And the vote aside and the letter aside, I really appreciate what you do. I think you're doing a great job.
He's bringing a different, fresh perspective.
It's, all right.
So now I'll entertain a
I'll make a
motion.
motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion
Good
on the
work,
floor.
Carol.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. What time is it, 9 o'clock? Yay, we're done.